Welcome to Bosses with Baggage. I'm Sherry Sutton, your host and business growth guide. Around here, we believe that failures are our superpowers. So in this podcast, we'll explore the many ways that setbacks can mold, shape, and change your life and your business and ensure that you come out of the fire better than before. Through interviews with business leaders and discussions of my own personal struggles, we'll unlock the secrets to turning setbacks and low moments into opportunities to thrive. From approaching your business with a servant's heart to getting comfortable with being the face of your brand, each episode will be a safe, judgment-free zone to reframe the concept of failure with honesty, empathy, grace, and a whole lot of laughter. So are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to Bosses with Baggage. My name is Sherry Sutton, and I am your host and marketing mentor, and I'm here today with Tory Sachs. Say hi, Tory. I'm so excited to have you here. So Tory is my Reiki and crystal healer. I have been going to her for about, at least 6 months, and it has really... working with her has really transformed my energy. It's been something that I've really worked on this year is like mindset and energetics and, really finding ways to fully show up how I am. And it's been an incredible experience. So anybody who is looking to work with Tory or looking for somebody to help on the energetic healing side, she is absolutely amazing. And you do remote too, right? And not just in person.
Yes.
Okay, so she's in DFW area in Dallas, in downtown Dallas, but can do stuff remote. Mm-hmm. So now that I've given you that short introduction, Tory, tell us more about you.
Oh gosh, I'm like, where do you want me to start?
Well, tell us what you do, like where you are and what you do. And then, or just get right into the baggage, because this is Bosses with Baggage. And we get right into the whole, what was the impetus, right? What was the dark night of the soul that really led us to doing what we're doing today? Because I find the most soul owning businesses with full authenticity are the ones that come from a place of the owner and the founder having had some sort of pain and now looking for a way to help someone else. And so that's the story that I'd like for you to share with us today. So if you want to just dive right in, go for it. But give us a little intro first.
As well. So I kind of consider myself as like a spiritual warrior. I mean, you know this, like when you come and see me for a session, it's like, okay, what am I going to battle and dealing with today? But honestly, I didn't wake up and was like, I'm going to be a Reiki practitioner. Like I'm going to be an energy worker. It just kind of unfolded and happened. So a lot of people actually don't know this because they just know me as Tory, and the spiritual side and the energy work as a light worker, but I actually worked in marketing for 10 years. And it was like, I was just recently telling my dad about some of the stuff that I went through, and it was like a struggle a little bit, because I got passed over for jobs that were just like really icky. I mean, in the corporate world, there were just like really icky situations. But ultimately, I guess that helped me like form my business and has helped me with like the business side of things. But I was in marketing for 10 years. And actually what happened is I went holistic in 2016, and it all started, like this journey really started because I had really bad sinus infections and allergies. And I was the girl that looked okay, but I was on like all these medications, all these things, and it wasn't doing anything. And then I remember that I went to the allergist and got allergy tested, and they were like, look, if you get another sinus infection, you're gonna have to come in and get allergy shots like 3 times a week. And my body, I guess this was like the moment, my body was just like, no, you're not doing this. And like it was more about like, how am I gonna have time to do this? And then also, it was like, okay, I have to go 3 times a week, and it's insurance. It was like some really weird stuff. But it led me to finding Ayurveda, which I think you know about a little bit. But basically, it comes from India. It literally means the science of life. And I remember when my friend told me about this, I was like, okay, I'll talk to you in a month. Like, this sounds cuckoo. But now it's like everybody is into it. You know, it's like before being like holistic was cool. But it basically looks at the whole body and the whole life. So, I mean, they've been doing this for thousands of years. And the easiest way to make changes is by changing your food. And through that, I mean, I've worked with someone like every week for like a year to 18 months at this time. But through that, I was able to find out I'm lactose intolerant. And that's why a lot of my allergies were happening, even though the allergy test came back like, you're fine. You don't have any food allergies. Um, and so it was like really like getting in and like getting reconnected with myself. And then I also, at the time that I found Ayurveda, in 2016, I went through a really bad breakup. Like, you would not have recognized me. I wore my hair in a ponytail. I wore black all the time. I didn't care about makeup, like all this stuff. But like, I really
Were
held
you
on.
like a goth girl? Like, I can't see you as like a goth girl.
Well, I mean, I didn't wear like the crazy makeup, but it was like my outfit to work was a black t-shirt and jeans. And I just literally put my hair was a little bit longer. I literally put my hair up like in whatever I felt like that day. Um but the funny thing is that's when I had my first Vedic astrology reading, and I found out that Saturn was sitting on my sun. And so your sun is your vitality and life force, and Saturn can bring heaviness and depression. So like then I was going around telling everyone after I had this reading, "Oh, Saturn's sitting on my sun. I have no energy, sorry." Like, but anyways, so like Ayurveda really helped me through things. And then in 2017, because I was just like, I mean, this is what got me through this really bad breakup in my life. And I was also like at that point, like at a job I didn't love, like just, but I didn't care because I was like, life was just like a lot was happening with this feeling of the Saturn, with the breakup, just trying to get through. But so Ayurveda really helped me, and I was able to kind of really look at things in my life and figure out how I could change things. And in 2017 in November, I went on an Ayurvedic yoga retreat in Tulum, and that's when I had my first Reiki session. And it was also like right before I was going to turn 30. And I remember thinking, like, now I'm in my 30s. I'm like, 30s are great. But at the time, I was like, I'm going to turn 30. My face is going to fall. And my life is like, it was like some weird thoughts. Okay. But I had my first Reiki session, and it was like, it was amazing. And so since 2017, I have had Reiki every single, like, I get my own personal Reiki so that, you know, I can be clear channel for you. But I've been getting Reiki ever since that point. Even in Spain, when I was in quarantine and we were in lockdown, I was getting Reiki from my person here in Dallas, and I was in Spain. So that's kind of like, I guess, where it all started. And again, I didn't like, I kind of fell into this. It wasn't like, I'm going to be a Reiki practitioner. Like, even when I moved back, and I moved back from Spain with a palette of olive oil, but even when I moved back, I was like, I'm getting Reiki certified for the olive oil. I'm not working on people. We have enough practitioners. Like, but everybody else at my Reiki training was like, you're the only one that's delusional right that now, thinking like you're not working on other people. Everybody knew. But it was like my journey to find that out.
Yeah. So like what was what was that shift? Like you're sort of laying, I assume like laying down for that first Reiki session. Like, how did it feel? Because I think that's one of the, it's just hard to explain, I think, for people who haven't gone through some sort of an energetic clearing, right? And it feels really
Yeah.
woo-woo. And if this is too woo-woo for you, that's cool. Like, we are fine with that. But if you're still listening and you want to, like, what does that feel like? I'd love to hear it from your words, right? Like, how did that first one feel? And then I'm curious, when was the spark of like, oh, I need to start teaching that? But we'll go back to that story. So how did it feel for you for that first time?
So the first time I was in Tulum, so I'm on vacation. I'm like, oh, this feels nice. And for me, it was honestly the second one, the second treatment that was really powerful because so I got my first treatment in November of 2017. And then the next one was right before my 30th birthday in December. And I just remember like, and the first one, like, again, it's Tulum. It's like in a hotel room because it was when I met my friend, and she came to whoever signed up, like, you came and she came and gave you Reiki, and it was like, wow, this is nice, this is so picturesque, like, oh, how lovely. But like, really, the second one was more powerful because it's like everyday life, like I'm living my life. And so I went to her house and I was like, all right, we're just gonna do whatever. And I remember, like, you lay down for Reiki, typically, and it was just like, oh, this feels really nice. Like, this just feels like you're shedding layers. I mean, like, when I'm working on somebody, we're all onions. So I'm just working on what's ready to get released, not like if something needs to linger and is supportive for you, I'm not working on that. But I remember it was so interesting because it was like a little bit after, I don't know if it was that day or the next day after I had gotten Reiki. I remember my mom called me and I just started crying uncontrollably to the point where I was like, Mom, I don't know what you said to me, but I need to go. And I just needed to be alone. But it's because, like, it can be that powerful where, like, you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to go through this alone. That's why I'm always like, look, I didn't realize it at the time, but I am a spiritual warrior. Like, I really do believe I came here to do battle for you. Like, every time people lay on my table or I'm doing a Reiki ascend, it's like, okay, what do we need to do? But like a little bit easier way to look at it is I'm like the pool cleaner for your energy. Seriously, think about your energy, like your auric fields, your body, and I'm working on the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual level. The other thing is, like, I firmly believe that most of the stuff that we're dealing with, if it's like we got a headache or, we're feeling tightness, like those physical sensations, they start out as spiritual, emotional, and mental. But because we only really pay attention to the physical, they're like knocking on your door hardcore on the physical. But then I go in there, I'm like, yeah, this was just really because there was so much grief in the chest, for example, or so much responsibility on the shoulders that we're feeling it there. Or even like if we really want to go down the rabbit hole, I mean, there could be stuff from inner child in your childhood that I'm working on, or past life things. I've worked with, like, especially with crystal healings, I have worked on past life healings, and that has really made a difference in people. People didn't realize, for example, like, oh, I'm holding a lot in my ankle, like my right ankle, and I can't figure this out. And then we find out, oh, like something happened in a past life and they had an injury that we need to heal. And I've also like had certain things as well. But like I said, so if we think of your energy like a pool, and there's leaves and maybe there's insects or just like stuff that isn't serving you, maybe the tile needs to get cleaned, for example, like that's what I'm going in and doing. Or another way someone referred to it was like clearing out the cobwebs.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the journey for you from like, oh, this is great, I'm enjoying this in my life and it's helping me to kind of get through some of these like crappy life things that have happened, to like, because there's a huge shift, and one of from there to starting a business, right? And that's one of the things that I really like talking about here is, how do you take that spark of what happened in your personal life that helped you through something and converted that into a business?
Yeah. So, like I said, I was not planning to be a practitioner. Like, I was not planning to heal people. But I always like to say Reiki chose me. So in 2019, like, I've been getting Reiki for a number of years, every single month. Like, it was just something, it was a non-negotiable for me. And I was working in marketing. I remember I was working with people and I felt like I was this bubbly, upbeat person that was like, okay, there's always like a bright side, or there's always a lesson out of this. And they would just like, their energy was just like this. And it was like people that were okay with the status quo and not making differences. And it really started as a joke. I'm like, you know what? Because I went from one marketing job to another, and it was like, it just got worse. Like, I even took less money because I'm like, okay, it's not about the money, it's about the environment. It just got worse. So one day I said, I think I'm gonna move to Spain to learn Spanish and quit my job. And then I go, that's crazy. Like, just joking, I'm not gonna do that. But I said that to my parents because they were like, really worried about me. And my mom was like, well, you're not married, you don't have a boyfriend, you don't have kids, and you don't have a dog. So now's the time. And I was like, okay. And I really feel like I tell everyone I have a Spanish soul. Like, I really feel like that was divine guidance. And so I did. I quit my job in 2019. I moved to Spain. It was supposed to be like a 3 to 6 month situation. It turned into 15 months. Like, I was there during COVID, like pre-COVID, during quarantine. And I literally was just learning Spanish because I was like, I need to reconnect. And there was like some craziness going on. Just like with like the work that the corporate world. So then, like, that fun little experiment ended, and like I said, I ended up starting to import olive oil because of my marketing background and some other things. And I moved back, and I'm like, first off, it was traumatic moving back from Spain because it was completely different energies. As you know, every place holds a different energy. And like, I also didn't realize how empathic I was. I mean, I was denying a lot of stuff for a while. And so when I moved back, I felt the anger and the aggression. And like, a lot of it was mine, but a lot of it did not. It was the land here in the States. And so I moved back. And again, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get certified for the olive oil because Reiki is cool, and Reiki will really like help you because it helps not it does it has so many benefits. So I'm like, okay, why wouldn't we? And like, I infuse it in everything now, but at the time, like, I was like, we'll infuse it in the olive oil. Like, olive oil is so approachable. And so I go through the certification not knowing that like I'm going to go through a 21-day chakra cleanse that completely like put me on my ass. Like, did not know it was going to kick my butt. I mean, like, talk about someone that was crying for like 3 weeks straight because you have to up level. Like, that's why there's 2 levels. So level 1 is really the connection with yourself. And then level 2 is you get the symbol to actually be able to do long distance Reiki. So like, for example, I can be here, you can be at your house, and I send you Reiki. Like, when you had surgery, I sent you Reiki, and you were in Mexico, you know? So I don't have to be here. And the person doesn't have to be with me because it's all about the energetic portal. So level 2 is like, okay, infusing Reiki in products, working on people, plants, anything that holds energy. And like I said, I just started because you need to start practicing on people. So I started practicing on people, and I remember I was in Colorado practicing on a friend, and I was still like on this whole thought that, oh no, we're just putting it in the olive oil. The olive oil is my main passion. Which it wasn't. I love olive oil and I love good food because the body knows the difference, but this is clearly my passion. No, and I remember working on her, and it was a complete 180 shift, and it was like an hour session, and I wasn't even like as experienced as I am now. But I just remember being like, "Oh my gosh. She has so much more energy than she did before." And I remember seeing trauma and seeing things like experiences that had happened to her. And I was like, oh, you remember this thing? Well, I released it. Or, oh, like, I felt like you were holding some emotion in your arm, or just like whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not serving you. So like, I released it. And so I really just started like building and practicing. And that was like the most dynamic shift for me. Oh my gosh, it would be a disservice if I only put Reiki in the olive oil. It would be a disservice not to help other people. I mean, I think you know this, but I have a bad day when I can't help anybody. That is a bad day for me. So, then it really kind of transformed and it was about learning what I could handle. So, at first I went to people's houses. Like it was so unprofessional compared to what I do now. I went to people's houses and they would just be on the couch or in their bed and I'm like, "Okay." And I would like move in for like with all the things. And then I finally was like, "Okay, this is turning into a business because enough people are finding me and this is happening and I'm making enough money where I'm like, okay, I'm going to order the massage table." And I'm 5 feet nothing. I know I have a big personality. You may not realize that, but I remember I ordered the table and I was like, there is no way I can lug this into people's homes. Like it was just a no. So then it was about finding a place to like be able to do my services because for me, I just don't want to bring that energy into my home. Like that was just a big no for me. So then it was finding a space where people felt safe and I could do what I wanted to do.
And so then when was that?
That was 20 April of 2022 is when we had like our launch and we opened Where You Come See Me.
And it's amazing. It's an amazing space. Yeah, it's incredible. You hit on something earlier, which was being empathic and like realizing how empathic you were. And I find this a lot with especially service driven entrepreneurs where they are often very empathic and they often really struggle with that because they want to serve, but it can be exhausting. And so I would love your guidance on how do people kind of deal with that, right? And figure out a way like to, my girlfriend calls it like a your barrier, like you have to have kind of a wall between people, and she's a different word for it, but I can't think of it at the moment. But what's advice you give to them?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So first off, like what's really funny is I remember I had a mentor when I was working in marketing, and she was one of my bosses. Probably like the only boss I actually liked. But, anyways, so I remember her being like, Tory, like one of your gifts and one of your strengths is that you have really high EQ, emotional intelligence. At the time, I didn't realize what that meant. I just realized that I just thought, oh, I can read a room and I can tell what's going on and what people are feeling. And oh my gosh, we got to wrap up this presentation. I didn't realize she was like, Tori, you're empathic. That's like the business code for you're empathic. But then later I was like, oh, that's what she meant. But yeah, so a lot of us, it's like, here's the thing, like a lot of us are intuitive and everybody has Reiki in us. The difference is that I have been attuned to take in more of this universal life force energy. And be a conduit to help with healing. So I always just want to put that out there. And so I'm going to, you asked, so I'm going to give you some of the tips and tricks because honestly, when I first got certified, it was figuring that out. And when people are first on their journey, and even if you've been on the spiritual journey for a minute, as we up level, we might have to change and do things differently. So for example, when I went through crystal healing training, and again, I didn't realize I was like gritting people's body with crystals, and I didn't realize that was a thing. That was just something I was doing until I went through certification. I was like, oh, that's why I'm doing that. But I learned about black tourmaline and hematite. So I highly recommend every single person, whether you think you're intuitive, you think you're an empath or not, to wear those stones or to have them in your purse or have them in your home or by your bed, because those are protection stones and they're going to help put a barrier. So for example, sometimes it's really hard to be on planet Earth. And also sometimes it's really hard to know if this is my energy and this belongs to me, or if this is something that I'm influenced by other people, or was maybe like you walk into a space and you're like, oh, this feels odd. Um, and you're not sure if that's yours or that's someone else's. Like now I can identify that, but it's a process. So those are stones like so easy that everyone should have in the toolkit because they're going to protect you, especially if you're empathic, especially if you're sensitive to energies or people or colors or sounds, anything. The other thing that I do is and the way that I kind of talk about this and relate it to people, because again, what I do is like really in the abstract, so I have to make it a lot more tangible for people. But okay, we all know Harry Potter and we all know his invisibility cloak, right? So essentially, what I do every day and what I recommend people to do is to call on something. So I work with Archangel Michael specifically because he is the archangel of protection. He rules the southern direction, so he rules our backs. So like especially if we think about I want someone to protect my back, he would be the guy to work with. You may want to work with someone else. It could be God, it could be the universe, it could be Jesus, it could be Mother Mary, Buddha, somebody else, it could be an ancestor, whoever you believe in and you call in. Again, it could be your higher self. But like for example, I'm always like I call on Archangel Michael and I ask him to protect me. And when I do, I mean I also call on a bunch of other things, but when I in Reiki there's a symbol specifically for protection. But when I do that, I'm then visualizing that I'm Harry Potter and I'm wrapping his invisibility cloak around me. And that's how I protect my energy and put a barrier up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And I mean, because again, it's making like, this sounds crazy. What are you doing? But then it's like, oh, yeah, everybody's seen Harry Potter. If you haven't, go watch one. And sorry for the spoiler alert there, but that's like, oh, that makes sense. I'm gonna put a cloak around me of protection.
Yeah, because I think that again, I see so many people struggle with that as they get very exhausted. And sometimes it's not just in situations where they go in and they know that it's going to be challenging, right? Like you're going to go like, we're recording this around the holidays, right? They
Right.
know that you're going to, go hang out with that aunt who drives you crazy, right? Or whatever, your mother or whoever.
Right.
And, it's not just in those situations, but often it's also in the situations where we're serving that on some level we have to keep some of that protection, because otherwise we deplete ourselves, right? And I find that so often with, again, with service-based entrepreneurs where you're giving, but you forget to kind of protect yourself and reserve some energy for yourself.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it could be something as like, they have a client and that client has a bad day and the client dumps on them something that you weren't expecting, just like completely unloads. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm like, I think that was a therapy session for someone, but that's what they needed. Like sometimes people just need you to witness things and you're like, or you go to the grocery store and you saw something. It could be like as easy as going to the grocery. Like I always use the grocery store because sometimes it's like that's a lot to go to the grocery, but it could be like someone goes and they see something that they weren't expecting, or they're in traffic and it just, you don't realize it really kind of like, oh my gosh, that really shook my energy or that shook me. And so, when you just call in that protection and ask for the intention of the day to go well, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, I remember you actually said that to me because most everybody here knows I'm sober and I go to recovery meetings pretty often. You were like, getting the sense that you're taking home a lot of energy from those meetings. Like you need to do something conscientiously to like clear that out after these meetings, like, because you're just carrying some of it with you, and
Yeah,
that.
it cut the cord. Like, okay, I was at that meeting. It was a beautiful moment. I was there to hold space and witness for people, but okay, like that's done. Like, I don't want that energy to then come into other parts of my day or my life. And we talk too, because I'm very passionate about cleansing spaces and harmonizing spaces. Like, our homes hold energy, and our homes, because they're witnessing things. So that's why I was like, okay, you got to cleanse that space if you're holding meetings or doing something, or someone like had an argument or something like that.
So since it's Bosses with Baggage, and we talk a lot about sort of that overall journey of like where we were and where we are now, I'm curious to hear from your perspective, like what those dark moments were like versus how it's like now. And, specifically like how you've used this journey to really embrace your own authenticity. Because you were talking about like being the girl who wore black and like hair in a ponytail, no makeup, and like that's certainly not who you are
No.
now. And so, yeah, tell us more about that journey towards authenticity and, the difference of being at that bottom versus now.
Yeah. So, and I always tell everyone that every day is a day towards my healing journey. And if I have breath, I'm healing in some form of fashion, and I never stop healing until the day I die. And then like I have a friend who's a psychic, and we joke and we're like, well, and then like, we come back and we just like continue where we left off. So yeah, no, I always am like, I'm not perfect. I want people to realize that I'm not perfect. I'm human living this human experience. And I've had some dark moments. Like I had one this week for sure. I mean, we continue to have those dark moments because honestly, at the other side is when we grow and we transform and we evolve. There was a saying like I can't take credit for it, but my old healer, a healer I used to go to, I remember she said, "The only way through is through," and that is like so true. And I'm reading this book called Sacred Contracts, which it's, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I feel like everybody should be reading it, where it's basically that like before we came into this life to incarnate, that we kind of had like certain things that we needed, like themes that we needed to work through. And so like for example, you and I doing this podcast and working together, like that's a sacred contract. Like every single person we interact with is a sacred contract in some form or fashion. So, for example, like I import olive oil, and there were things that I learned from importing olive oil that made the Tory Sachs business way easier to launch, my healing business way easier to launch, because I was navigating all this stuff through that business. But those were like sacred contracts. And at the time, my business partner, that was a sacred contract that I needed to go through in order to grow and evolve. And once like maybe there is an expiration date and maybe there isn't, but yeah, so I deal with fear, anxiety, depression, and overwhelm a lot. Like one really dark moment was moving back to the States. I did not think I was going to be here. Now I mean, it's like 3 years later, I'm like, yeah, I'm supposed to be in Dallas. Like, this is where I'm supposed to be helping people. But when I moved back December 10th of 2020, I was like, I'm just going to do what I need to do to get my visa. And I'm going back. And I remember it was like, I was angry and I was aggressive. Like, I was not this like person. I was crying all the time. I was fighting with my parents. I mean, it was not cute. But that's just like the real deal. I had to go through that so I could appreciate things and be like, wow, if I hadn't gone through that, then I wouldn't be able to relate to other people. I wouldn't be able to help heal other people because it wouldn't be something that like, okay, I felt that. Like I felt things that have completely cut me down at my knees. So then I can be like, oh, wow, like, let's heal that. Let me help you remove that if you're ready to release that in this moment. so that you can feel lighter and brighter. I mean, that's how I kind of came up with clear path to new beginnings. I mean, the work isn't pretty, but on the other side, you feel amazing.
Yeah. 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 And I think you're such a good example of somebody who's, walked through it and is now created a business to help others walk through it as well. Right. And I think, again, some of the most incredible embodied business owners are the ones who've gone through that themselves and are now, using that mode of selfless service to give that back to other people. Right. And you're such a good example. The last question I'll ask you when I ask this of all of my guests is, as if you're talking to someone right now who's in that dark moment, right? Who just moved back from Spain. She didn't want to leave. She's cranky, right? She's on the bathroom floor, sobbing her eyes out, or he. What would you say?
I would say you are not alone. And yeah, you are not alone. That there are so many people ready and wanting to have you in your life. It's always like, I feel like kindness is something we should bring back. It's funny because for a while when people would say be nice, that really triggered me. And it turned out that it was like, no, people just want you to be kind. It's not about being nice, because I feel like there's some ickiness around that. But it's like people really need you. You just like, it's one soul can make a difference in someone's life. And you don't even have to know them, whether it's opening the door for someone or smiling. That could be the difference between someone who wants to be here and is having a really bad time. And so we're all in this together. And yeah, you're way more supported. There's this poem where, or saying, or this like little short story where it talks about how this person is like, I've been alone, nobody has been here with me, and then God or higher power says, I've been with you this whole time. Why do you think there were only one set of footprints? And I'm like butchering this, but it's like, I picked you up to carry you. Those were not your footprints. I picked you up to carry you through this. And I always am like, wow, that's amazing. Because there are moments where we're like, dang, I feel really alone. But like I said, like, it could be higher power, benevolent ancestors, like people that you don't even know that you make a difference in their lives, that you are doing something.
Yeah. I love that. It's a poem and it's called Footprints. And the person says, God, why did you abandon me during the time when I needed you the most? Because, only see one set of footprints right behind me during those times. And why did you abandon me? And they said, no, I didn't abandon you. It was I that was carrying you through that. And like, yeah, that's such a powerful, like, goosebumps just thinking about it. Right. It's gorgeous, but you're right. And I think there's a level of vulnerability too in allowing other people to help us, allowing other people to take care of us, allowing other people, you know what I mean? So it is a very vulnerable thing, right? Having worked with you, or, doing any kind of like real healing work where you're really willing to sit down and go, like, I'm willing to have whatever is going on with me healed and taken from, because there's this sense of like it's being taken from me, right? And it's not serving me, but it's still mine. And I don't want to let it go, right? I'm not ready to let it go. And I don't even know what the hell it is. I know it's not serving me, but I'm too scared to let it go, but I don't even know what it is. And so there is this sense of, vulnerability. And I love what you said about only by you having had those dark moments and utilizing, the techniques of Reiki, right, to kind of get through those as well as other things, it allowed you to then hold space for other people as they're going, because you know what it feels like to be on that table.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also think from a pure marketing perspective, right, because that's what I do, and you did that for a long time, it's, no one wants a weight loss coach who hasn't had problems with their weight. right? Like you want somebody who's been through those things because you know that they know where you're at. They know, they can feel how hard it is to be in that moment of asking for help. And when someone's holding space for you versus when they're just trying to get a buck.
Right, right. Or like spiritual bypassing or so many different things. But yeah, I mean, because sometimes people are like masking it and they're not authentic. I mean, there's so many times people come up and they're like, wow, you really know your stuff. And I'm like, who else have you been talking to about Reiki or like all this other stuff, like crystals? I'm like, well, yeah, I better know my stuff if like someone's going to see me.
Right. Right. And that requires work on your part, and you're willing to do it, and you're willing to dive in, and you're going to the workshops and you're learning all the new things, and, so that you can be in a position to better serve, right, others. And I think
Yeah.
that's one of the other things that's special about you is because sometimes we think like, oh, well, I went through this, so I'll just help others, which is great. But sometimes, there's still some work in that, right? There's still the certifications, they're still learning the craft, they're still honing your craft, right? They're still having to show up and do it poorly for a little while until you learn.
Right. Like I said, I was doing it in people's beds. I mean, it was very unprofessional.
Well, I'm so glad you're here today. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having me. It was really an honor and to share as well.
Thank you. So if anybody wants to find you, what's the best way to find you?
So I always say, if you know my name, you can find me. It's Tory Saks, TorySaks, and that's all my social handles as well as my website, which is torysaks.com.
Love when people use their own names for branding because not enough people do it. They think they have to have some other like fancy, like findyourinnerlight.com, and like that's great, but people are going to know you as Tory Saks, right? And I think that's so smart the way you did it. So thank you so much, and we hope that you enjoyed this episode of Bosses with Baggage. If you did, please leave us a review. Let us know what you thought. Send me a note if you know anyone who would be a good guest, or if you have any suggestions for the podcast in the future. And please be sure to like and subscribe and share with your friends. We appreciate you. Have a fabulous day. Mwah.
Thank you for listening to Bosses with Baggage. We are honored that you chose to spend your precious time with us. I hope that you are feeling inspired to reframe your setbacks into your superpowers so that you can change not only your life, but the life of everyone around you. If you enjoyed today's podcast, and I sure hope you did, please subscribe, rate, and share on your favorite podcast listener. And if you have any ideas for a future guest, or you need some help growing your business, I'd love to connect with you. You can find me directly on my website, which is sherrysutton.com, SherrySutton.com. We'll see you next time.